Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Jess and I would love for you to go down and click the subscribe button down below and turn on those post notifications if you're feeling extra generous, so that way you can be notified every time I upload a new video. And without further ado, let's get into today's video. So as you guys can see from the title, obviously this video is going to be about COVID and how I got COVID and what my symptoms were. So I am a bartender in Houston. So here in Houston, we started opening a little too early, especially at least that's what most doctors think, which I happen to agree. But Houston started to open up on May 18th. I did not go back to work until May 25th, just because my family is older, my parents are older, and already have health issues, so I wanted to hold off on work for as long as possible. So I went back to work on May 25th, which was a Monday, and unfortunately I worked a lot, over 45 to 50 hours, just because we were short staffed. Our establishment wasn't forcing people to come back to work, which is awesome. So a lot of people that didn't feel comfortable going back to work didn't have to. So the rest of us were kind of meant to pick up the slack in a sense. And we opened not to full capacity. We were allowed at 25%, then at 50%. For the first week we were at 25. For the second week we were at 50. We had people checking temperatures on the way in. We weren't required to wear masks or gloves, but I did wash my hands very often, which obviously didn't help. And then come the second week, it got a little bit lax, so we were allowing a little bit more in, we were allowing more people in than we probably should have, but we were really busy. Not that that is okay, but that is definitely why a lot of places are kind of opting to shut down again here in Houston, and that is why Houston's COVID cases or positive cases have been on the rise lately. So I started going back to work on Monday the 25th of May, and by Saturday, June 13th, so about 3 weeks later, I tested positive for COVID-19. Now, there were a few other people that I work with that got it, and as soon as they found out, or as soon as they got symptoms, they didn't go into work. So I actually got tested on Saturday the 13th, but my symptoms showed up on Friday the 12th, June 12th, and I called out of work that day because obviously I wasn't feeling great, and had already scheduled my test for Saturday. Now, where I went, it was about 25 minutes to get the results, and I had to administer the test myself. So whenever I went, my husband and I pulled into a stall, and I was handed a swab, was told to roll the windows up, and then proceeded to have to stick a swab about 1.5 inches into one nostril, twirl it for 6 seconds, then hold it for 6 seconds, and then do the same on the other nostril. I sneezed, I think 4 or 5 times. It was really, really hard to kind of, especially doing it yourself. Like, it's easier when someone else does it for you, but I was told I had to administer it myself. And because my nose is already stuffy and clogged, it was so painful and so uncomfortable, and I had to do it myself, so I was definitely a little squirmy. My husband had to keep saying, further, 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 and within about 20-25 minutes, I got a call. They made us park. Sorry, rewind. I gave them the swab back. Excuse me, I gave them the swab back, and we were told to park and wait. So we waited for about 25-30 minutes, and then I got a phone call from, I guess, someone in the office, and I was told that I tested positive. I kind of already figured, just because that morning I woke up with a fever of about 101. Sorry that this video is all over the place. I'm just trying to kind of tell you my experience and what happened and my symptoms. So Friday I had a fever. I wouldn't say I had a fever. My temperature normally is around 98, 98.9, I would say. And that Friday night, the June 12th, my temperature got up to 100.4, so right at fever temperature, 100.4. So I called off of work and didn't go in. And then Saturday, when I went to go get tested, they made me do it myself. all that kind of good stuff. And then I had to park and wait for about 30 minutes. I got a phone call from a lady in the office who said I tested positive, which I kind of figured, just because at that point, two other people at my bar that I worked at my bar tested positive. So I kind of figured that. So whenever she was on the phone, she said, you tested positive. There's really nothing that they could do. So I was told to just take Tylenol or some sort of fever reducer to kind of help me feel better, although there was nothing that she could prescribe to kind of make it go by faster. But that's just, it's the flu, so it's kind of like the flu. So so there's really nothing that they could give me. So she said that if my fever reached over 104 to seek emergency help or, go to the doctor, and that she said to wait 14 days, and that after 14 days, I could take another test and then wait 24 hours and take another test. I had to have 2 consecutive negative tests in order to be negative, or in order to, kind of go about my daily life. So right now I am on day 8. She also said that in order to test negative, or in order to be sure that I don't have it, I needed to test 2 times 24 hours apart and have them both be negative. The unfortunate thing about that is I don't have insurance, and where I got tested was free. But when I called to make another appointment for next week, so that way I could get the okay to go back to work, I was told that they don't do like second time testing, and that it wouldn't be free if I wanted to get tested again. It would be $90. And then, obviously if I wanted to do the 2 tests 24 hours apart, that's $180. And I don't have insurance, and I am not currently working. And even, with my unemployment, it's not very much. So $180 is a lot of money. And that's just so frustrating that in order to get tested, it just costs an arm and a leg. And people wonder why other people aren't getting tested. It's because all the sites that are free, the results take, 5 to 6 days. And by then it's like, what's the point? Like if you get tested because you're feeling sick, or you don't get, or you get tested but you're not really feeling sick, and you go out and about and it turns up positive, it's like those 5 or 6 days, it's like, it's just so frustrating that people are forcing you to pay $90 to $170, $75 per test. Like, that's so much money. Like, I can barely afford that, let alone like, people who can't afford rent or things like that aren't working. It's just so crazy that that's how much it costs to get even tested. So unfortunately, I don't know when I'll be able to get tested again, let alone twice, 24 hours apart. Excuse me. But that's just one of the frustrating things, is that places are charging an arm and a leg, and it's like, how do they expect the statistics to be accurate when a lot of people, so many people, can't afford that? I'm one of the lucky ones who, I could ask my parents for money. I mean, I could use the money that I have in savings, to kind of get that money for testing, but it's just so unfortunate. But anyways, I am on day 8. I have, my symptoms started off as a headache. So I had a headache Friday, and come Saturday I had a fever. Saturday, the highest my fever got was 103.5 or 6. So it was pretty high, especially just because I am such a small person. It was horrible. I had chills, sweats. I mean, I was like, when I say drenched in sweat, like I was wearing a gray shirt, and my shirt was like 2 different color grays because of how much I was sweating. My husband covered me in cold packs and cold towels to help bring my temperature down. I was taking low-dose aspirin and Tylenol. The low-dose aspirin is kind of like a blood thinner, just because they're saying that what causes death in like younger people with COVID is blood clots. So I've been taking low-dose aspirin to kind of help with that. I haven't taken Tylenol in about 5 days. Like I said, I was only taking it whenever I had a fever. So first Saturday, my fever got to about 103.6, 103.5. And then Sunday and Monday, I also had fevers, but it was around 102 101, 102, and then come Tuesday my fever broke. So from Tuesday to now I haven't had a fever. I did lose my sense of taste and smell on Sunday, and unfortunately I have not gotten it back. So I don't know when I will get it back, and I don't know how long it will take, but it is very, very frustrating. I would almost prefer to have like a headache and fever than not be able to taste my food, just because I've been eating and I can't taste anything, and it's just so frustrating. And I had a delicious cup of coffee, but couldn't taste that because obviously no taste. And then I still have a cough, but as far as fever, chills, body aches, don't have any of that. I did have body aches the first 3 to 4 days, so even though I didn't have a fever, I did have body aches from like Tuesday, Wednesday, and then obviously because I had it, I have it, my husband tested positive 3 days later. He also got a fever. His fever lasted a little bit longer than mine. His temperature never got past 103.1, I believe, but his fevers were a little bit longer than mine. My fevers kind of came and went, and his were pretty consistent for the first 3 days. He is now on his 3rd day of no fever, and him and I quarantined together. We have not gone anywhere, have not done anything. We've had lovely friends and family come and drop us off like groceries and things like that at our door. And we've, kind of done that. But as far as the last 8 days, we have not gone anywhere, done anything, seen anybody. It's just been us and our dog. And yeah, that was my personal experience with COVID. It is not absolutely terrible, but it is definitely not great. We are pretty lucky with only having a fever for about 3 days each. So that was not necessarily nice, but I do know people that have gotten it much worse. And for me to not have a sense of taste or smell, if that's the worst of it, I will gladly take it, just because I know that there are some people that have been out for weeks. And, I've been fine for the last 5 days out of the 8. So I don't know when I'll get tested again. So if you guys do want kind of like a follow-up video, please give this video a big thumbs up and comment down below. This is definitely the first kind of like chatty video I've ever done. So if you do like these kind of like more sit-down videos, I would also like to know. So give this video a thumbs up. And again, let me know down in the comments. If you guys have had COVID or know anyone that has COVID, my heart goes out to you guys. This is definitely not something that's easy to deal with by any means. My husband and I were just lucky to not have horrible symptoms. And if you do know anyone who has passed, or my heart goes out to you. This is definitely not an easy time, especially with everything else going on in the world. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and until next time, bye guys.